Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Thought Leaders Live, where we talk with thought leaders about thought leadership in business, in life, and all points in between. Very excited to be joined by Stu Akala today, an industrial product launch strategist. Stu, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Greg.
Today, we're going to talk about a huge topic for industrial marketers and marketers in general: the biggest product launch mistakes industrial companies can make. Now, Stu is a B2B marketer. He's got more than 17 years of experience leading marketing for industrial companies. I've heard him interviewed on this topic many times before. The man knows his stuff in this area, so really excited to unpack some of Stu's thoughts and insights here. But Stu, why don't we start out with you telling us a little bit about your own personal journey and what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. Well, again, thanks for letting me come here, Greg. So again, I'm Stu Akala. I've been in B2B marketing now for about 17 years, all for industrial companies. And today I get to lead marketing for three companies: Canon Equipment, LA Darling, and Unarco Industries, which are all part of Marmon Holdings, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company, about 120 businesses, 12 billion in revenue. So a really big, dynamic company. And today for the companies that I lead marketing for, it's really all about two things. It's about really elevating that customer experience and just streamlining operations within retailers. So thinking about Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon, really all the big hitters in North America. We are doing business with many of them. And some of the products that we're selling are things like shopping carts, stocking carts that associates use to fill the shelves and in the back room, shelving, merchandising, those long shelving that you'll see in those aisles are end caps. So, basically a lot of the stuff that, you're walking by during your normal trip in the retail store and you're never thinking about. But if they weren't there, you would definitely know it. So,
And that's what I love about manufacturing in general is that take a look around wherever you are right at this moment, and you're going to see a ton of things that are manufactured, and it's all these behind the scene companies that put these together and manufacture these products that really make us go. And especially in retail, the science behind all these products and the strategy is really quite fascinating. So let's talk a little bit now about the product launch. And we wrote in the show description that too many teams treat the launch as a kind of a check the box exercise, right? We got a product. All right, let's go. Let's launch it. Instead of more of a strategic process, you want to connect that product with the right audience. So why don't we start us out, Stu? Start us out with maybe the most common mistake that in the product launch is like not setting that strategic foundation.
yes, that's absolutely right. And, let's just first assume that the product is good, because of course, that needs to be solving a valuable problem and providing value to customers. But, when I really start thinking about the launch itself, there's really three things in particular that I'm thinking about at a high level that need to be in a good position in order to really start diving into any of those tactics from a product launch standpoint. So, I'm thinking about targeting, thinking about positioning and messaging, the same things that really are the foundation for any good marketing program. So just kind of breaking those three down, first off, thinking about targeting. Industrial companies a lot of times like to sell to a lot of places, every market. As you said, a lot of our solutions can be used in so many different places. I think about early in my career, I was marketing a line of products that helped um, with variable frequency drives run more effectively. And VFDs can be used everywhere, anywhere there's conveyors, anywhere there's high voltage. So it is so tempting to try to attack so many markets, but I really think that you have to be more focused and think about, for example, who are your best customers today? Who are the most profitable? who are the customers that the sales cycle tends to be shorter? Who are the customers where you get in a conference room and talk to them and they just get it with the products that you're selling? So that's the first thing. Try to really zero in your targeting because you can always expand it later after you have some success and momentum. And then the second thing is getting your positioning right. And this really bleeds, I think, a lot into differentiation as well. Just getting really clear about your customer alternatives to your solution that they can go about solving that problem. And yes, certainly the competition is important, but not shortchanging just the do nothing competitor. And I know you and I have talked about that on LinkedIn once before that, just keep doing what you're doing or throw more bodies at it, throw more time at it can be just as big of a competitor as any alternative solutions out there. So getting really clear about what makes you different and is special enough to actually change to you as well, because we know the barrier can be big in B2B. And then the last thing is messaging. And that only gets better after you get good clarity about your target. What makes unique about your product? And then through that, your messaging improves because now you're able to tie it back to a specific ideal customer profile. You're able to use their language. You're able to speak about a use case that they understand in their jobs that's giving them pain. Everything gets better once you get those three things set. And that only comes through talking with customers and spending the time up front, especially in tandem with those folks leading the new product launch, maybe product management, market research, to getting those insights to give you a lot of the great ingredients that make a good launch later on.
So Stu, let me ask you this, and we talked about this a lot before the show, and you just alluded to it about, you know, let's assume you've got a great product developed and ready to go. Um, in your experience, when you're coming to launch product, in the product development team has done a lot of the work and has probably at this point probably should be able to help you answer those three things you just mentioned. Have you run into cases where maybe they have one, but it's not as well defined? Like they might have the audience, but you're like, can we get, you try and get some clarity. I mean, do you run into that on occasion with these three that you just mentioned? And then how do you get the focus to come? Is it a collaborative effort?
No, that's excellent. And yes, I have ran into that, especially early in my career. And I'll maybe review the initial business case that was developed to justify putting that product into action or to put resources against and developing it. And yes, in their target markets, as I said, it's this market, this market, this market. And then that's where, I can come in with my, experience and say, look, guys, if we're going to try to have success out of the gate, if we're trying to target everybody, our messaging is just going to come wishy-washy. It's not going to be, it's not going to meet someone and actually drive impact and say, yes, I understand that. So I think when you're able, in my experience, when I'm able to then articulate why it is that I want to zero in more closely, at least out of the gate, and recognize that after we have success, we can broaden the audience and then do another campaign specific for that world. I think people typically understand that. And I think too, it's on the product marketer, whoever is going to be launching this thing. I always say you got to insert yourself early on as well and have strong rapport with those that are leading development, like a product manager, because it can be a really good, you can be a really good team.
So so to follow up on that, are you advocating that, hey, okay, there's going to be a product kickoff, like the company is going to launch this product. We've got the product development team. Stu's going to head up the product launch. Let's all get together right at the beginning. I mean, does that happen sometimes where you all come together at the beginning? Here's the objective. Stu, this is what we're thinking of product development. We're going to go test. We're going to test with the audience.
Yeah.
Stu, do you have any thoughts before the product development team gets going? Is that how it
Yes.
works or just
Yeah.
depends?
I think, product marketing in which is the role typically of those that are going to be launching the product, which it can be a lot of people, and especially in smaller companies too.
Sure.
Product manager might be doing both sides of the fence.
Okay.
But yes, product marketing can bring a lot of valuable insights to help in the initial business case development. Now, keep in mind though, too, when you're developing a business case as well, you may not be 100% sure of who exactly is all going to love this thing.
Yeah.
That might come out a little bit through the research that you do through the new product development, where you're talking to customers in different markets and seeing which one of these markets maybe is going to get the most value, or who, again, you think you might be able to have the most success with out of the gate. So I think it all depends. Maybe you're going to be very narrow in the beginning, especially if it's, just a product extension off of an already successful product line. Okay, you're going to stick with this market versus it's something that's it's we're starting with a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah.
We're trying to build something from the ground up. Maybe then you got to be a little we're going to learn as we go a little bit, but once you start getting into really detailing the fine details of that launch, you better have good clarity about who specifically you're trying to reach.
That's good stuff. Okay, let's go on to the second mistake that are often made, not developing a strong go-to-market plan. Stu, tell us more about that.
Absolutely. So I think first, just talk about what it isn't. So,
Okay.
I think a lot of times when I'm talking about the go to market plan, I find people mistake it with the business case, which these are separate animals. I mentioned it earlier before. The business case to me is really important for setting the initial justification to even put any resources or time against developing a product. So this is where, here's the team that's going to be required. Here's the timeline. Here's the 5-year projections to make sure that this thing can actually be profitable. Initial market research or market sizing that you've maybe done. So these are all important things that should be done on the front end. But the go to market plan is a little different. And for me, this is usually developed once through that new product development process. We've now gained confidence that this thing's actually going to get to market, because it's completely fine. Products don't always make it to market. But once you have good clarity that it can get to market, then I'm starting to develop my go to market plan. And I mean, simply put, the go to market plan really becomes the North Star for your whole product launch. It's where everything is going to be set up front, your strategy, your planning, your resources, you name it. It's the piece that you're going to develop on the front end to have success. So, with that go to market plan, it's going to include a lot of things. It's going to include everything that I just mentioned up front: your targeting, your positioning, your messaging. And you're going to go even deeper, things like proof points behind all the benefits that you're claiming. So you can claim a benefit, but if you don't have anything to support it, it's not going to land. So, a third party testing, a case study, photos of the thing actually in the environment doing the job that it's supposed to do. Those sorts of things are so important now today. Getting clarity around, thinking B2B, thinking about your channel partners, which can be so important in the B2B world. Thinking about, which distributors are going to be a part of this, which manufacturing reps are going to be a part of this. What are the tools that they need? I think about distributors, what lead time do they need in order to get the information to put it up on their website? So there's a lot of things that can get deep into there that you want to be accounting for to have success. And then you're thinking about what types of sales tools and marketing assets are going to need to be created through this. Very important too, to help you put forward the right budget. And you're defining the brand strategy, the timing, etc. The list goes on forever, but it's really the one place that, again, is going to lead the product launch. And, the thing that I love about this too is that it becomes such a valuable tool for communication. It's the piece that you can, for your leadership team, you can share, guys, here's the plan. This is where we're going. And really demonstrate that you got this. You're really leading this with a strategic approach. It's a great tool then for sharing your team, what you have, and have them tweak on it. Because, especially anybody that's talked with customers before, whether it's sales, product management, engineering, customer service, you name it, everybody's going to have different perspectives and little tweaks on that that might be valuable. And then also the last thing too is it can double almost as a creative brief at times too, because I know for me and a lot of industrial marketers, we're working with external partners, so you can take a lot of these pieces, craft it into that creative brief, and as you start having, I've been here before, we got 10, 15 pieces of creative coming your way, it kind of becomes dizzying. It's like, I don't know, this looks good.
Yeah,
But
right.
I literally put stuff side by side. I'm like, okay, the video, the sales deck, the sell sheet, the case study, whatever it may be. Okay, are we hitting on the key benefits of my ideal customer profile? So, I mean, there's so much that goes into that go to market plan. It takes a lot of time to put together, but it actually saves you time in the long run. So you're not reinventing the wheel each time, and you make sure you're checking the boxes on all the right stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Stu, you and I have worked together in the past, and I think one thing I really like about your style is you're always, let's go back to that strategy document. Let's take a look about what we're trying to do here. And I think that that North Star mentality is so important for most marketers because we're always, like you said, we got a million things to do and we're getting pulled in a million different directions. So staying grounded with that is really, really critical.
Yeah, I mean, you think about these product launches, man, they stretch out, and inevitably, I say inevitably, but not always, but boy, it sure feels like it. We always are so excited about our timeline when we
Yeah.
first think we're going to get something to market, and you know what? Things tend to stretch, and so yeah, you have to put this stuff down on paper. So that you can refer back to it over and over again. So yeah, I'm glad that you found that valuable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on. Number three on our list here is treating product launches as a check the box activity instead of a strategic process. Big mistake. Well, tell us about that, Stu.
Yeah, one of my biggest LinkedIn posts that I've done before is just talking about the difference between something being available versus it being launched. And let me just explain what I mean by that. So, when I think about the check the box exercise, when you think about new product development, especially in the industrial world, it's typically that or stage gate approach. Stage gate, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at one of those steps, it's okay, let's put together the marketing tools or the sales tools. So you go boom, 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 and you put all together the tools. And then it comes to launch day, you get it on the website, you do a LinkedIn post, and then that's pretty much it. You say it's available, great. But there's a difference between it just becoming available, like I said, versus launched, which is keeping that momentum going over time.
Hmm.
And this really stems from there's so much research. I think so many people on LinkedIn have seen this where I think it's 5% of the B2B marketing, those in B2B marketing are actually in market for your solution at any given time.
Right.
And, I don't think it's hard to really appreciate that. I think about just for me on the marketing side for my role, I'm frequently seeing things that look really interesting out there and something is launched, but you know what? I don't have the budget for it at that moment. I don't have the bandwidth for it at that moment. Maybe, my team, the person that I need to approve that doesn't quite agree with that approach. So there's so many barriers that can come in the mix of that. But, over time, if you stay in front of your audience and you continue to keep them aware of it, continue to educate on the success that maybe you have over time, it's just critical to do in B2B. So when you launch it, that's just step one. I think you got to keep the momentum going, having, a 30, 60, 90-day plan to be talking to your sales team, understand what are they hearing in those initial conversations? What sales tools do they want? What things are landing? Which things are not landing? All of this can provide a lot of good inputs to help you continue and improve that launch over time. So, you know, you gotta keep going. It doesn't stop at launch day.
Well, I love what you're saying there about the 5%. I remember talking to a direct marketing specialist about getting a mailing list. He was a direct marketing, direct mail guy, and he was talking about you've got an audience, and every time you're hitting another 5% of that audience with your marketing cam. So, I mean, I guess one way to think about it is you're doing a product launch. If you're hitting 5%, you got to do 20, you got to do the product launch like 20 times to
Mhm.
get that full 100. So, I mean, when you come back and you stay in front of people, do you, I mean, what has been some of your experiences? Do you just kind of like almost reintroduce it again? I mean, because some people, they might not have seen it the first time.
Yeah. Well, I think 2 things there. One is, um, yeah, trying to meet people wherever they're at, right? So there's, social media, there's email, there's trade shows, there's direct, doing a direct mail to them. So first appreciating that, um, you know, you have to meet, everybody's going to be receiving that information differently. So that's step one, I think, is appreciating that everybody's going to be different that way. But to answer your question then, I do like to switch things up with that
Okay.
message, especially if you're thinking you're hitting them again. I think about like email, for example. So, we know with our email list that we are going to get in that person's inbox. Sure, are they going to read it or not? But we know we're going to get in their inbox. So, switch the headline up each time. So, and then, as I said, maybe you had a couple wins that now you can talk about a use case or a case study for it. Or, sometimes you just learn something that, as I said, something that resonated with customers in those initial conversations. You go, well, we could do something around that that would be really interesting, and just really zero in on one benefit or one feature, whatever it may be. So, yeah, you can do so many things and keep having fun with it to keep it fresh and keep the momentum going.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, to your point, you can't literally go out and, I mean, unless you're a credit card company, because that's what they do, send the same exact thing over and over again on social media or in email, because you'll get people unsubscribing, and
Yeah,
you'll get people who will just your email, your ads won't get served up by
right.
LinkedIn or whoever it is, and you're shooting yourself in your foot in the foot. But what I like what you're saying in that you can still talk about the product, but switch, get a nuance, highlight something else, keep it fresh, keep it exciting, yet keep it new, right? I mean, it's still
Yes.
something that people don't know about the product. That's really good stuff. Well, let's talk about one of my favorite topics with the product launch, and it's the sales team. Those folks who are overlooked by us marketers, but are so critical, kind of help us keep our jobs in many ways. Let's talk a little bit about why product knowledge isn't enough. And you say equip sales to sell,
Yeah.
not just to learn.
Yes. So let me just give you a scenario that I've seen many times in my career now. So the the team does a fantastic job building a great product, engineering, product management, whoever it may be, and they get it finally to the point where it's ready to go be launched with the sales team. So they say, "All right, guys, come to the headquarters. I can't. We got something exciting to share with you. We can't wait to tell you this." So they jump on planes, they cancel meetings, they come into the headquarters. So you're in the conference room, and then they start talking about the product, and they start talking about every feature, and it does this and it does that. And this is, wait till you see this, whatever it does. And, so it's a big deep dive on the product. And then they say, guys, oh man, I hope you've enjoyed this. We can't wait to see what you do. Let us know if we can help. And they walk out of the room. And the sales team looks at each other and goes, well, how do we sell this thing?
Yeah.
So, okay, I've seen that happen a lot of times. So I'll just tell you the way that I've run my sales trainings that I think have been a lot more impactful for my friends on the sales team. So, first it does begin with the product training, like we just detailed, getting super deep into it, and letting our engineers go into every single detail. I want my sales team up on their feet. I want them to set up the product. I want them to reset it. I want them to understand failure points, whatever it may be. And, maybe they're not necessarily going to retain every single thing that moment, but it's all about building confidence and getting them to feel comfortable going in front of a customer and talking intelligently about it and talking with someone who's maybe more technical and they can respond back confidently to build their confidence and the confidence for the customer. And then the second thing is so learning about the product and then how to sell it. So this is where now we borrow who's the ideal customer, right? Who do we think is going to be most successful? And I think about a lot of salespeople, they might have a huge region that they're in charge of, or they got a customer list, 200 customers long. Help them understand who should they go talk to first? Who are they maybe going to have more success with? I think you're doing them a disservice if you're not telling them who you think they might have success with up front, or maybe any parameters that needs to be met in order for the product to work well in that solution. Certainly overcoming objections, right? What are those obvious objections that they're going to receive up front? Help them overcome those. Help them from a messaging standpoint. What are things that you should be highlighting or probing questions even better to help uncover how things are going there? So that is so important, and it's a missing component. And then just the last thing is then teach them the sales tools. And I think what I've seen, unfortunately, is marketing has a bunch of tools that they have, and they say, guys, here you go, read them. They're great. Use these to sell. But I think it's really important for the marketers to actually explain how they went about selling it from a strategic standpoint. So we use this headline because this is specific to the ideal customer. We took these benefits because it's the most important versus, whatever that alternative solution is to solving the problem better than anybody else. So just make sure that they understand that, and just keep reminding them over time, because again, salespeople have a lot on their plate. Make sure that they remember the sales tools that are available. I think that's really important. So train the product, tell them how to sell it, tell them the sales tools. I never have a sales training that doesn't at least go a day long, and as a starting point. And I think when you do that, you energize the salespeople and get them more excited.
Stu, does it help to get the sales team involved a little bit earlier, even in the product development? So then they're aware this is coming, and maybe they're, they're not gonna, they're gonna be excited about it and know what's
Oh,
coming. Because I think you know where I'm going with getting in, having that meeting you're talking about, and just having the sales team go, no, this we can't even. This will never work.
I am so glad you brought this up, because I love talking about this one. So I joke with my teams is I don't want this to be Stu said. I want to get the salespeople out in front. So I'll give you an example. So, in that new product development process, we will be putting products in front of select customers to get feedback. Maybe it's, we're going to identify them as our development partner, or we're just going to share with a customer that we have a strong relationship with the solution.
Okay.
And we're using our sales team to do that. So, I mean, almost now that I never do a product launch without having a salesperson talk to their colleagues and share, I showed this to a customer and they lit up and they liked it. And now we're moving forward. And, it's oftentimes too, it's typically a salesperson who's maybe a little more experienced, someone who has, the respect of their colleagues. That can go a long way. So, yes, Greg, I think getting your sales team to participate is huge.
So you're selling the sales team,
Oh, yeah.
besides the people you didn't get involved earlier, giving them those same proof points, really doing to the sales team what they're going to go out and do to their customers.
Absolutely. And in much larger companies too, that's part of the challenge for product marketers is they have a huge bag of things that they can sell. So you need to get them excited about your solution. So, in small to mid-sized companies, it's typically a little bit different. This is the new thing. They're going to be, there's going to be a focus on selling that thing. But hey, nonetheless, I want to sell them on this thing and have confidence to go out and sell it. It's huge.
Okay, Stu, we're coming up on the top of the hour, or the half hour here. Why don't we close it up with, is there one thing that really, I hate to put you in a corner here, but one thing that you would tell those industrial marketers to do with a product launch?
I mean, I would just say if you are if you get the opportunity to run a launch, grab it. I mean, I think about, a lot of people in their careers when they're looking to improve their careers in trying to advance, one of the things that can hold them back is being perceived as strategic, especially to those higher up in the organization. And when I think about a product launch, it's such an excellent opportunity. It's something that has visibility. It's something that there's going to be goals attached to, maybe even at the highest company level. And I don't think a lot of industrial marketers understand the gap that is happening here of having a really impactful strategic launch, to make sure that it gets out in the market, gets seen by the right people, and it's saying the right things. So, you have a real opportunity to educate the company, to demonstrate your strategic capability for all the things that I just said, as well as align teams, because product launch is a team sport. You can't get these things out the door by yourself. So there's a lot of skills that you're using to get a product launch out the door. So if you have an opportunity to do it, take it.
Okay, so I might be a marketing geek, but I kind of got a little bit of chills there because I really love that approach. And I'm going to tell you why, Stu, because I remember reading a while back this book. I think it was David Ocker on branding or somebody on branding, and they were talking about nothing builds brand equity like a new product. I mean,
Mm.
you look at Apple, you look at all the iPhone, you look at all these new products coming out, and it's so true. I think what you're saying is so profound because as a young marketer or even just a marketer in general, no matter what stage you're at in your career, boy, you're touching so many people and you are bringing so much value to the table with that product launch. That's a really powerful message for people. I love that.
I couldn't put it better, Greg. I totally agree. And I'm glad I made you as a marketing geek get chills, because I get excited about this stuff too. We love marketing.
Well, and that's the whole fun of it, right? I mean, it does build excitement, and when you've got something new, it jazzes people up. It's
Yeah.
like my wife will say, "Just wait till we put a coat of paint on that living room. You're going to get excited." And I'm, fighting her tooth and nail, but she's right.
You're right.
Yeah. So, Stu, this has been fantastic. If people want to reach out to you, learn more about product launching or launching a product, where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'd say reach out to me on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. I try to post at least once or twice a week on all things marketing, but inevitably a lot of it is product launch. So I'd love to follow me and DM me. I always love to talk with people about marketing.
Okay, Stu Akala, I really appreciate your time. And thanks to everyone out there for joining us. We'll see you on the next edition of Thought Leaders Live.